Trump faces two difficulties, really. The first is an essentially political one. Might he find himself being impeached under the terms of the Constitution for committing what are termed high crimes and misdemeanours? The second issue, and sequential to the first one, is whether he might find himself being prosecuted for committing a criminal offence under section 1518 of the United States Criminal Code, which makes it a crime to obstruct any person in a way that impedes the administration of justice. And both of those scenarios, I think, arise if it is actually the case that he has told Mr. Comey that he needs to stop the investigation into the influence of Russia on domestic American politics. What may work against Mr. Trump here is a fear on the part, particularly of members of the House who are facing re-election in 2018, that their own majorities are sufficiently precarious that if they do support the President on what are purely partisan grounds, and demonstrably so, they may well lose their seats next time round. It may transpire that as months pass, some of those Republicans take the view that their re-election prospects are best served by campaigning on behalf of the Constitution against the President than by seeking to preserve the President's position in office. He could simply give a television or radio interview revealing what was done, offering up this memo if indeed it exists. I suspect, given that he has been a career law enforcement official for many years, he would not likely follow that course. Where his testimony might most be an issue is if the House does at least begin to consider whether impeachment proceedings should be undertaken. He will be called to give evidence there. I would find it hard to believe he wouldn't give it quite willingly, and I would suspect that he would be regarded as a fairly reliable witness. Certainly more reliable than the President himself, but then we're in the rather unusual position, I think, which the framers of the US Constitution would never have envisaged, that you have a President who either does not recognise the difference between truth and lies, or simply doesn't care about the difference. If what he's done is essentially no more than saying this is perhaps not the most effective way to use governmental resources, FBI time might be better spent elsewhere, this is something that's really not worth pursuing, then that's something that could properly be defended, I suppose, as a discretionary decision about how best to go about the business of law enforcement. So there would be a substantial hurdle, I think, in proving Mr. Trump's motive. If it's to protect his administration from revealing that Mike Flynn or other of his campaign workers have done something which might amount to treason, then he's in substantial difficulty. The Senate will move into Pence's vice presidential slot.